Welcome to the Beyond Ordinary Women podcast. I'm Daigle, founder of Beyond Ordinary Women. We provide resources to prepare women for growing as leaders and disciples. One way that we do that is through our Bible studies, and I have the privilege of writing them. Today our guest is Kinney, who serves on our board and also helps edit those studies by working through them in advance of publication. I invited Irish to make a series of very short introductions to our studies to help women understand what they offer to groups and individuals. Thank you, Irish. I'll turn this podcast over to you now.
I'm sure you're familiar with many of the stories and parables in the book of Luke, the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son, and the rich young ruler, to name just a few. And of course, the most detailed account of Jesus's birth comes from this book, and reading it's part of our Christmas tradition. But have you ever read it in its entirety, going beyond just a superficial understanding of the familiar stories? Have you seen how the stories and the teachings connect? In this study, you'll follow Jesus from his birth to his resurrection, and you'll get a new appreciation for the significance of the stories within his ministry. And you'll learn how each of those stories reveals the heart of Jesus. Throughout this study, I was encouraged to slow down and consider what it would have been like to have actually been there, what I would have thought, what I would have felt, what I would have done. Those moments of reflection made all the difference because they gave God space to speak to me and to teach me. As in all the Bible studies, I was asked questions I'd never considered, and they helped me think more carefully about what I was reading. Historical information about burial customs and crucifixion gave meaning to references that I'd simply glossed over. Cultural information about the first century gave me insight as to why the people responded to Jesus the way they did. And quotes from biblical authorities, they challenged my assumptions and my conclusions about familiar stories and teachings. As a result, I have a much fuller understanding and gratitude for Jesus and his ministry. One of the unique and deeply moving aspects of this study is the prayers that were placed throughout the study, some from the author and some from Puritan saints. Many times I thought I had done a thorough job of studying the lesson, and then I'd read one of these prayers that reflected the heart of a true disciple, and I'd realize how very far from the mark I am. If you've ever been at a loss for words to express your heart towards Jesus, your regret over your sin, and your desire to do better, these prayers will give you those words. As you work through these lessons, you'll be reminded over and over again that the purpose of Jesus was to search for us, to save us, and to bring us home to him. You may already belong to him, but like me, have become distant, or you may still be wondering who this Jesus is. Wherever you are in your relationship with him, he's waiting for you to come home to him. I encourage you get to know Jesus for the first time or get to know him more deeply through this Bible study.
Thanks for listening to the Beyond Ordinary Women podcast. You can find more podcast episodes and resources for women in leadership by going to beyondordinarywomen.org. This podcast is produced by Beyond Ordinary Women Ministry. Our production team includes Evelyn Babcock, Kay Daigle, Deborah Herring, and Sharifa Stevens. Theme music, Back in Stride by Don Miller, used courtesy of Christine Miller.